It was showtime, but for one final time. I am Luke Owen, DAD. This is Tempest. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of AEW Revolution 2024. Please, if this is your first time here, press the thumbs up button. Give us a subscribe if you haven't already. Plus, leave a comment down below with what you thought of this show if you're watching this on demand. And if you're watching us live, join our wonderful community. Join in the chat. Let us know what you thought of this show. And if you want your thoughts read out in the air, it's WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 amounts as we talk about. I said in my edited review, arguably AEW's best pay-per-view they've ever done. Mm-hmm. I think it's this and All Out 2021. And it's perhaps recency bias, but man, I think this is among the conversations of greatest pay-per-views ever. And then there was a comment that really made me laugh. It was like, so this one's 5 out of 5, but Elimination Chamber's 3 out of 5? How does that work? I'm like, well, because one of those was a 3 out of 5 show, and then this one was AEW Revolution 2024, which was spectacular.
Arguably is an interesting term there, because I do think you were completely right. I went into this going like, this is an all-star card. They have thrown everything at this show, and we're probably going to get something really special coming out of it. And I got like 2 matches in, and I was like, ooh, we're on pace. We're on pace for something real special here. Even if the show had ended after the first 2 matches, we would have gotten something special.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll throw in Full Gear 2021 as well.
Yeah.
Because that and this show were the ones that are linked in my memory. Because All Out is its own thing. It's got the debuts. It's got the Punk return. It's got a big cage match and everything like that. Whereas Full Gear was just, we're going to go out and do 9 straight 4.5-star matches.
It was an incredible follow-up to All Out 2021.
It was. And this show, I felt, was reminiscent of that, because it was just, don't worry about going out there and doing the opening match or whatever. You're just going to go out there and have the best match that you can. And we got, like, there were, 9 matches on the main card? I'd probably say, 7 or 8 of them were 4 stars plus.
Yeah. Bryan and Vinny on their review of it on Figure 4, it's the line that stuck with me from their review, and they're like, and on any other show, that Bryan Danielson Eddie Kingston match would be a match of the year contender. On this card, it was the 4th best match. Because it was an incredible night, capped off with one of the greatest retirements matches ever, a perfect send-off for someone. It was Sting's final match, him and Darby Allin taking on the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team title. Tornado match, because that's how you brawl through the crowd. Mm-hmm. And, man, what a perfect send-off. Just from the entrances alone, I was like, this match is already perfect.
Yeah. They nailed every single thing. And they had the big memorable spots that people are going to talk about. And they had the big memorable entrances that people are going to talk about. They had the big memorable video package that everyone's going to talk about. And you had the historic figures of Sting's past, whether it's Flair and Steamboat that were there for this match, or the people in the crowd that they may or may not have cut to and put all the attention on. Koloff is there.
Luger was there.
Luger's there. Magnum TA's there. David Crockett, who we saw on the pre-show, was there. It felt special. And I forget who exactly had said this, but if I had to use one word to describe Sting's run in AEW, it would be dignified. Where how many times have we seen legends trotted out and just been told, you're old, haha, and then they get hit from behind by somebody and made to look like a fool. Mm-hmm. Granted, it helps that Sting has never been made to lose in AEW, which helps, but throughout this entire run, he has been able to have a retirement run with dignity. Yeah. And this capped off all of that. I don't think they could have done a better job.
I think it helps. Apologies if my voice sounds a bit croaky. I kind of lost my voice a little bit over the weekend. It's coming back, though. So I was a bit ropey during the news, but I'll get through this podcast. It'll be all right. But you may hear me go, a little bit squeaky voice teen. Mr. Windsor, it happened again.
My God, you're greasy.
But I think what helps in this being a perfect retirement match is what you just said then. It's the 3 years that have preceded it. Like, this could have just been a great retirement match anyway, but you combine that with how well AEW presented Sting and treated Sting since he came in 2020. It's just magic. And it is, I can't think of anything better. Like I said this in the edited review, there's a lot of criticism you can throw against AEW.
Sure.
And a lot of them I would completely agree with. The treatment of Sting is not one I will stand for, though.
No.
I think the treatment of Sting, every single time he's been on TV, every single time he's been on pay-per-view, has been incredible. And this is just the cherry on top. And it was a massive cherry as well, because it was just layers of cherries to go on top of this.
It was something that we did not expect in the run of AEW. When AEW starts, like, everybody's thinking, oh, what could we see out of this renegade company? We could maybe see CM Punk return to wrestling. Wouldn't that be crazy? But I don't think anyone was really expecting Sting to debut at that Winter is Coming show and then to have a 3-year wrestling resurgence after what had happened in WWE with his career seemingly ended. And it's just been a perfect example of how to treat a legend on their way out. Again, it's something that maybe has been I don't want to say overlooked, but there have been a lot of really big things happening in AEW the last 2 or 3 years that maybe taken attention somewhere else. And Sting's never been somebody in AEW who's like been in the world title program until a month ago was never in the tag title program or anything like that. He would kind of be brought in to be an attraction, sometimes come in to do promos to help with, angles and such with the Darby and MJF thing at Double or Nothing last year, for example. But throughout, he has just been handled perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely perfectly. And you could absolutely have done this in a way that you would have gotten less out of his run. Or how many times would you see somebody go in there and have a legend win 29 straight matches in your promotion and it be looked at as a massive positive?
Yeah.
But the way that they've done it, again, I go back to it, has been done with such dignity.
Yeah.
And showing a legend dignity after what we've seen for years and years and years is so refreshing and so heartwarming.
Yeah.
And it helps that everyone loves Sting as well.
I think that's it as well. Like, I think Denise Salcedo posted up that it was kind of great being there in the building because all day you just saw everyone walking around wearing Sting merchandise or having Sting makeup or in Sting cosplay and stuff. It just felt like a really special moment. I think even just the fact that when Sting came in at Revolution, it was a case of, at Winter is Coming. You're like, cool. Cinematic matches.
Sure.
I get it. Bunch of cinematic matches. That's a really good use of Sting. And then he wrestled at Double or Nothing. And you're like, oh, okay. And then it never felt like he'd went away.
Yeah.
It never felt like he'd retired. It never felt like he was the man that got that horrific injury that did seemingly retire him. It's just been so nice and so wonderful. And there was a moment during this match, you and I were talking about this on the prediction show as well, of like, really, you got to think that Sting's going to win here because they beat up his kids, and what a wonderful moment that would be. And then you have that other match, I was like, no, and I said this, and I was like, no, the Young Bucks win. They go on, they carry the tag titles. Sting loses his final match. There was a part way through this match, I was like, man, I don't want Sting to lose.
Yeah.
I do not want Sting to lose this match. And when Sting won, and he tapped out Matt Jackson, I was like, perfect.
Matthew Jackson.
Sorry, I do apologize.
You're
Matthew
going to get
Jackson.
fined.
I'll get my fine in the mail. I was like, when he tapped out Matthew Jackson, after Sting did a coffin drop onto him, I was like, perfect. Absolutely the right call. Vacate the titles, which is what they announced in the press conference. They're going to be a tag tournament. Of course, there's a tournament to crown new champions. Just the right call. I thought it was absolutely the right call to have him win.
It's one of those instances where if you are going strictly based off of the Wrestling Booking 101 textbook, then yeah, you have the guy put someone over on the way out and you move the tag titles on to this next team and whatever. But the human element is very real. And looking at this show, I don't think it would have been as perfect if he had lost.
Yep, I agree. I absolutely agree.
And this is coming from, again, somebody that predicted the Young Bucks to win, thinking that like, oh, well, that is logical if they go that direction. But sometimes you do just have to do what is going to feel the best. Mm-hmm. Give everybody the warm and fuzzies Because that's what they wanted. They wanted to have this wrestling show that everyone's going to remember. And I don't think anybody was going to forget it leading up to this. But that finish is what is really going to put the cherry on top of the mountain of cherries to make this one of the most heartwarming, tear-jerking wrestling matches and wrestling shows that we've ever seen.
Sting in his post-match promo was like, I wanted to give you a match that you will never forget. And that is exactly what they did. It's not just the magic that Sting was doing as well. And it was like Sting playing the hits, which is exactly what I want out of this match. You had the crazy Darby spot as well, which we'll get onto in a little bit. But I want to start from the entrances. Because you had Ric Flair come out, and they introduced Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, or Ricky the Dragon Speedboat, as we often refer to him in the office.
Copyrights, trademark, we're going to use that for something. It's a brilliant name.
It's a Tempest creation, Ricky the Dragon Speedboat. And he was the timekeeper. It was a completely unannounced thing. You're right, they didn't then focus on, like, they showed some of the legends at ringside, but they didn't be like, and the legends.
Yeah.
The thing that Kevin Nash was worried about. Like, they didn't do anything like that. And then the Bucks came out in the Codevator, which I loved. I've written in all caps, Bucks out in the Codevator, because when Cody left, he wanted to hand the Codevator to Jade Cargill.
Right.
And Jade, I think, used it for a little bit, then didn't use it after that. Then they changed the stage, so they didn't have the Codevator anymore. So I now love that the Bucks are the ones that have got the Codevator. I hope they keep that.
I hope they do too.
And they used to have the cannon that shoots out money. It now shoots out business cards.
Yep.
Which I think is great. And then Darby makes his entrance, and we go to a Sting movie. And it's Sting going to a cinema, a movie theater, to watch a career retrospective. And it's full of those Bill Apter photos. It's full of PWI magazine covers that he was on. It's photos from his time in WCW. There's footage of him wrestling in Japan. It's really well done. And it cuts back to Sting. And you're just watching this man. It almost felt like he was watching it for the first time. Being genuinely so emotional about it. Watching him tagging with Muda and things like that. And I could feel myself welling up watching it. And getting, like, it was kind of what we talked about with the Rev Pro show we had a couple of weeks back. I had that moment where suddenly him was like, oh yeah, this is Will's last match.
Yep.
In Rev Pro. I had it here as well. I was like, oh yeah, this is it now. And I started to get a bit emotional. And then it's cut to, the Bucks attacking Sting's kids and Sting being like, no one's ever attacked my family before, but you've got a fight on your hands. And Sting just looks at the camera and he said, it's showtime. One last time. And then Sting's music hits. And out walks Surfer Sting. And
I popped huge.
The place went ballistic. And I was like, oh my God, he's come out. He's Surfer Sting. He's bleached his hair and he's come out. I was like, do you know how much Sting's son looks like Sting? I thought that was Sting.
There's been a running theme on this pay-per-view of people coming out in an ode to a former gimmick that looks just like the person.
Yeah. So Surfer Sting walks out. From the other ramp, NWO Wolfpack Sting walks out. It's his two kids. And then lights go out. Metallica's Seek and Destroy plays. And out walks Sting. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, I don't want to keep using the word perfect. But it was. Just from the entrances alone. So great.
And a crowd that was willing to go with all of it. And granted, I'm sure in many cities, if you book this show months ahead like they have and said, this is going to be Sting's retirement show, you're probably going to have a bunch of people there to see Sting. But it just felt like there was a little extra fairy dust in the air that night. Because you've got this Greensboro crowd in this building he's got history with. And when they all started singing the Metallica song, I was just like, F&A, man.
Yep.
Like, I love people getting to sing the wrestler's song when it's like a throwback cool thing. I had it with Punk when he did the AFI entrance. I had it with Sandman when he did Enter Sandman at One Night Stand. It is my favorite thing. These are the best entrances when it's cool and then the people make it better. It was perfect. It was flawless, if you want a different adjective.
And then I've written in my notes here, my first note, this is insane from the get-go. I had no idea what was coming next.
I don't think any of us did.
So the Stinger kids did Stinger splashes. One of them, the Wolfpack kid, he got some height on him.
Yeah, I'm sure they're both football players.
I believe they are, but
dude
got some height on him.
Listen, there are schools everywhere.
Yeah.
Now might be a good time. You got eyes on you.
So we got loads of plunder out from under the ring, tables, ladders, and sheets of glass. 3 sheets of glass to be precise. When the glass came out, there was a genuine gasp from everyone in the building. Everyone sort of went,
we're going to see one of these matches.
Yeah, one of these matches, I guess. Crowd brawling. We had a Falcon Arrow from Nicholas to Darby off the stage through a couple of tables. Matthew Jackson suplex Sting off the stage through a couple of tables. So, comes down to Darby and the Young Bucks. They battle down. Darby gets this huge ladder. Massive, massive ladder. And they've set up this sheet of glass. Sugar glass, of course. So not real glass. Don't need to cry any rivers. So a sheet of glass propped up on 6 chairs. And he goes up top and he's going to do the big flip dive, the one he did to Jeff Hardy.
Yep.
In that one time we did a thumbnail, said, did this go too far? And everyone called us snowflakes. And it turns out. And he goes to do the flip dive onto Nicholas Jackson. Matthew Jackson pulls him out of the way. And Darby crashes through this glass. Glass all goes up into the air. Thankfully, did not go out into the crowd. It just went up into the air, and one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
It's wild how many of those Darby Allin has had in AEW, because I can think of 3 off the top of my head, and I'm probably forgetting some, whether it's the Jeff spot, this one, or from Wrestle Dream where he got slammed on the stairs and such.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the 3 most sickening bumps I've seen in wrestling that don't involve cages and stuff. This was horrifying.
Yeah.
It does not take a lot to get me to get up out of my seat and walk around for a little bit, but I was just oh, you get a guttural reaction to that, because it's not even just the thing that happens, because it's horrifying. But as far as a bump, it's a flashier version of the Jeff bump, which is I've seen Darby Allin go through that. It's when he's lying there and you see all the little speckles on his back.
All of a sudden, it's just pinpricks everywhere.
And it's every time they would cut back to him, you just hear another, oh, God. Because they do it 3 times where it's just they zoom in on him after and you see the little pinpricks everywhere. And everyone's uh-oh, that doesn't look good. And then they cut to reaction shots of the Bucks or whatever, and they cut back, and it's all really starting to go, and you're oh, God. And they do it one more time, and it's really starting to go. And it was one of the most heinous things I've seen in a wrestling match.
Yeah, because it was sugar glass, no one had to cry a river. Instead, Darby Allin's back bled a river.
It sure did.
Because, man alive, just the blood started pouring. And I was and that's how I knew it was sugar glass as well, because it didn't break like glass would. This just shattered like sugar glass does, like they use in movies. And it's just and it was just all of these holes, and it just went,
yep.
It's like the elevator doors opened up in The Shining. It was gnarly. I said this to Pete when I saw him in the office this morning. I said, I think it's divisive. In terms of, I think there will be people who will look at that and be like, that is an awesome spot in an awesome match that I will never forget as part of a match I will never forget. And there will be others that'll be like, that's too far. I don't like that. And I've seen both sides of the argument. Dan came into the office today and said, hated it. Hated that spot. Did not like it. Is not what wrestling is for me. I know we have an Ultrachat coming up that is like, hate that spot. Did not like that at all. Where do you fall?
If I had seen this, if this was the first time I'd seen Darby Allin, maybe I'd been like, what the hell were they thinking? But I've just been a little bit desensitized by Darby Allin doing stupid, S word. Honestly, I was more offended by the stairs than I was by this one.
Yeah. I think this was safer.
Yeah, I saw this and just went, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I am just kind of used to it. It's one of those things, different strokes for different folks. Like, if this isn't what you want in your wrestling, fine. But I will see this and go, Awesome.
Yeah, divisive is the word I would use. I know there are some people, I've just seen someone there said he's not going to make it wrestling to 40. Everyone said that about Will.
Yeah.
Everyone said the exact same thing about Will Ospreay when he was doing the gnarly bumps that he was doing in his mid-20s. Like, that man ain't going to make it to 30. Look at him now. 5-star match on this show.
Yep.
5-star plus, if anything. Mod Mother, if you can, I'd like to do a poll.
Mm-hmm.
Yay or nay? Did you like the spot, yay or nay? Because I am curious, because I think this is going to be fairly 50-50 in terms of the split. Maybe 60-40. I don't think there's going to be a landslide in either direction. But I thought it was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of loved it.
Yeah.
I did. Because...
You jackass fan.
Well, yeah, I guess it's because I am. Like,
yeah.
It's the era that I grew up in. I grew up on backyard wrestling DVDs and, the like, grainy VHS tapes of death matches in Japan and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is rad. Like, this is awesome. And it's kind of... I said it was kind of a fitting tribute. Like, it's not like Sting's some famous deathmatch wrestler or anything, but Darby said, I'm willing to kill myself for Sting's final match. And he just about tried it.
I mean, if anything was going to do it,
yeah.
This would have been it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not a big deathmatch guy. I don't go out of my way to, like, watch the big Jun Kasai, rather, matches in Japan and that sort. If I hear that one is particularly amazing, yeah, I'll check it out, because every once in a while I do like seeing Nick Gage wrestle Chris Jericho on Dynamite. Every once in a while I like seeing someone get thrown into thumbtacks and you see the big face and such, but I don't need it every show.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's done as the biggest spot of the biggest match of maybe the best show of the year, I can live with it.
I can live with it, absolutely. So what also it did as well, it took Darby out for the rest of the match.
Yep.
Which meant all of the focus was on Sting. Because this is where Sting comes back in, and it is just the Young Bucks beat the piss out of poor Sting. Like, he does obviously all this Stinger stuff, and then it's doing all the hits. They throw him through glass, they throw him off a ladder through a table, they hit him with belt shots, they take out Ricky, they take out Flair, they give him the EVP trigger, and he keeps kicking out. They hit him with a second EVP trigger, full on shaking his hands as well, being like, thank you for your service. Give him a second EVP trigger, and he kicks out at 1. He does the big fire up no sell, the big pounding of the chest, and he takes them out. And we then get Darby pushing Nick through a table to the outside. Matt gets hit with a death drop, Scorpion death drop, the coffin drop, locks in the Scorpion deathlock, and Matt taps out. A phenomenal match.
I'm surprised that Sting didn't really jump off a thing.
No, well, yeah, he got jumped off a ladder, I suppose, through a table with the help of Matthew.
Yeah, but
he didn't do the balcony dive.
He didn't do a balcony dive, and I was like, well, I guess that was the one hit that we kind of missed in all this. But as soon as he got powerbombed to the table, I was watching this with the lovely Holly Musgrave, and I was just like, he's gonna no-sell it, he's gonna get up, he's gonna go crazy, watch it. And then he starts getting up, I was like, watch it, it's gonna be great. It was exactly what I wanted. And it felt like it was exactly what everyone in attendance wanted.
Yeah.
I couldn't have booked this better.
You couldn't. I don't think you could. I think this match was absolutely perfection. Loved the super kick party, and Sting did the big sort of like rocking back. And when his head lifted back, the crowd went, oh, waiting for it to lift up and no sell it. It was so great. I thought Sting was awesome. He gave a speech afterwards about how this is his last match. He thanked everyone who was there in '88 when he went to the time limit draw with Flair. He thanked them for being here with him again. And you could tell they were running out of time because Darby Allin ran over and was like, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
And the feed cut off. So I know there are some people like, we didn't get to see Sting's full thing. They posted up online. I'll be honest, you kind of got all of it in.
You got the best bit.
You got the best bit because the rest of it is Tony Khan coming out, really.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan just cutting one of his Tony Khan promos about how much he loves Sting. And then the rest of the locker room emptying to give their thanks, which was lovely. But I thought this was superb. I'll get on to some timing stuff later in terms of what I would have cut in order to have given this more time. But yeah, loved it. I'm looking at the poll here at the corner of my eye. It's currently a landslide.
Wow.
Which I was not expecting.
No.
It's not as divisive as I thought it was going to be, it would appear. But let's get into what you thought of this. You can get your thoughts in WrestleTalk.com/support. And here we have that Ultrachat I was referencing earlier from Blake. He said, the glass Darby landed into went into the faces of fans at ringside, including a little girl. He could have permanently blinded fans. Effing stupid and reckless. Between these types of spots and him calling Angle a little bitch, I'm sick of seeing him. So, first off, that spot, there was no glass went into the audience.
Mm-hmm.
The Sting spot, glass did go into the audience. There are people who've like posted videos and Sting, it literally goes like that. But there's also security guards who told everyone to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that they're okay. The other part of this, I didn't know this. I had to go Google what this was in reference to. Darby did an interview in preparation for this to promote this. And he was referencing Kurt Angle, who done an interview saying, I didn't want to retire facing Baron Corbin. It's not the match I wanted to do, but I did it. And I guess it's fine. Like, that's the match that they wanted me to do. That's the match that I did. And Darby's whole point was like, I can't imagine having your retirement match and just doing what the company tells you to do.
Mm.
And whereas Sting has got to dictate what he wants to do. And Tony Khan just sat there and was like, what do you want to do? And Sting has said, this is what I want to do. It's like, great. Let's work with that then and work towards that. Darby didn't specifically say Angle is a little bitch. But he said, I can't understand people being little bitches. So I'm sorry, Blake. I agree with Darby on this one.
I mean, we've got the best example of a retirement match that we've maybe ever seen, and the worst example of a retirement match that I think we've ever seen. I know which one I would take.
Yeah, I don't think Kurt Angle losing to Baron Corbin in 5 minutes is how Angle would have wanted to go out. That whole retirement tour was embarrassing from the get-go.
Yep.
I would much rather this one. Demanchiger said, I don't know who approved Roderick Strong entrance gear, but it was atrocious. He looked like Dollar Store Dr. Doom. Also, despite the great match, I do wish it was Sting versus Darby. Just seemed like more emotional match that was missed out on. I don't think, Sting has said he doesn't want to do any singles matches.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it was. You know, I talked to friends last night who were just like, I can't believe we never got Sting and Darby. But I guess that's just the reality that we live in, you know? And when it is that, it is like a shame. I would have liked to have seen Sting wrestle Kenny Omega too, you know, or Bryan Danielson. But if that's not the world in which we live in, then I think they've done just about as good a job as they could possibly do with this run.
James here said, I love the show, 11 out of 10 star show. Not gonna lie, I cried 3 times last night. During Sting's entrance, after the finish, and later at work that night when the Crow Sting, even with the Starcade 97 Creepy Kid monologue, came on my wrestling playlist. I'm so lucky I got to see Sting a few times live in his AEW run. As a WCW kid from 96 to 98, hell even a TNA guy in the mid-2000s, I got to see one of my childhood heroes go out on top. I'll miss you, Stinger, and thank you for too many memories to count.
Very lovely. I must say, my highlight of all of Wembley Stadium last year was seeing Sting.
Yeah, same here.
That was number 1 on my list. And I got it, and I think I loved that casket match more than anybody else did.
C. Cruz said, I was able to attend my first AEW show last night at my first pay-per-view, and it was an amazing experience. The atmosphere was electric, and Sting got the perfect send-off. The Darby Glass spot is one that will live in my brain forever. So grateful to see Sting. Sarath here says, hey guys, big fan from India. What is your favorite moment of Sting? Mine was when he made his WWE debut at Survivor Series 2014. I wasn't following any news at the time, and I was a huge Sting fan in TNA, and that moment gave me goosebumps. Thank you, Sting, for the awesome memories.
Lord, it's difficult. Like, there are so many, and I was looking back through a bunch just for research purposes in the last week or so. And, like, it's probably gotta be just the match with Flair. You know, because it's like, when you look at a star-making match, that's like kind of the blueprint that everyone goes to. Mm-hmm. Go 45 minutes, go to a draw with the best in the world at the time, and you make a new superstar. And he's just like the coolest kid. You know, he's the coolest guy coming out of all that. You could always go with like the Crow stuff later, which I would very much understand. Him coming down and beating the ass of the whole NWO.
That was my moment.
Pretty rad.
It's so cool.
He's so cool. And just to think that they messed all that up in WCW is why that company deserved to die.
Well, you know, he didn't get a tan. If you want to go by Bischoff's logic, well, he didn't tan that day, so can't really put the world title on him, can you?
I guess not.
Charles here says, an awesome final match for Sting. Some really scary bumps for sure. Darby going through the glass. The river wasn't tears. It was his own blood. Maybe Punk had a point. It was unnecessarily dangerous. Great show all around. Heel Bucks are great.
Aren't they just?
Yeah, Steven here says, glad AEW gave Sting a proper send-off. Luke, you sound like a 95-year-old man in the news. Hope your voice recovers quickly. Happy birthmas, Tempest. Happy birthday, Pete.
Just me.
As a new hockey fan that roots for my home state Columbus Blue Jackets, go Leafs go.
Thank you very much. Go Leafs go.
As because of you, I understood a joke that's in a Toy Story short. There's one of the shorts is called Small Fry, and it's very funny. It's where Buzz gets lost, where he gets replaced by a McDonald's Happy Meal version of him.
Sure.
It's very, very funny. And he has like a sort of an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting with all the discarded Happy Meal toys. And one of them is called DJ Blue Jay. A little bird. And it's like DJ Blue Jay. I was like, oh, because that's a bird.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a team named after them. I know that because Tempest talks about the Blue Jays.
I sure do. I can't wait for them to lose again this year.
Kuzu said, the last 3 matches elevate this from a 7 out of 10 show to a 9 out of 10 show. It was already good, but that kicked it up to great. Sting got me into AEW full-time, and I'm glad he got the retirement tour that he deserves. Will here said the show was amazing top to bottom. Sting coming out to Seek and Destroy was super awesome, and the retrospective was a tearjerker too. Perfect send-off for a perfect run. Also, I'm glad Darby was at the press conference because I thought he might have died.
Well, he said in his address, hey, I was willing to die, but I'm still breathing. So
yep.
He made it through.
Eternal Blue has been a member for 32 months in a row. Said, as someone who is hemophobic, I viscerally hate this sort of thing in wrestling. I just wish there was more warning ahead of time. Made me feel icky. Icky's a good word.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they took the panes of glass out, so at that point, you've got probably about 5 to 10 minutes to turn away.
I particularly enjoyed as well when, I think it was Excalibur said, like, sorry, the doctor's going over, there was some gauze. It's like, oh, that'll do it. That's all he needs.
Put the little cotton balls all over his entire back and tape him up like a mummy.
I can't believe he did a coffin drop after that.
He's a madman.
Steve Fire's been a member for 12 months in a row, said, hey guys, as someone who has watched wrestling for over 50 years, this is the absolute best retirement send-off match. Sting forever. Love you guys. Welcome to Rome said 3 things. 1, absolutely love your guys and your takes. Keep up the great work. 2, last night was the pay-per-view I bought as an adult and loved every moment of it. It was the first pay-per-view and I bought it, loved every moment of it, except 1. 3, how the hell do you cut Sting's final promo? Darby is insane.
I mean, yeah, there are things that we could talk about where timing ended up being a bit of an issue because Darby literally says, hey, we got 3 minutes and here you go, Sting. And then they pause for a long time. I was like, 3 minutes has got to be wrapping up sometime.
It sure has.
And sure enough, it did.
Yeah, well, we'll get into where I would have trimmed some of this to give 2 moments, time for something and something else. Mm-hmm. But let's get into the show itself. We had the pre-show rather, which had the 12-man tag.
12-man tag.
Bang Bang Scissor Gang versus Team TNA, Private Party, and Willie Mack.
Yep.
It was a pay-per-view opener. It was exactly what you want from an opener.
It was fine.
Jay White won.
Jay White won with the Blade Runner. He pinned Willie Mack. And then afterwards, he came on there and just had to cut a promo about nothing.
Yep. Where
he just said, we got big business. I'm going to have some big business on that show, too. Which, I don't know, maybe Okada? I don't know.
So they've announced that it's him and Darby.
Yes. But that just feels like, that's a match. That's a good big match. But maybe he wins that match. And then
Okada.
Yeah. You know, that would make sense at least. But, oh my God, get this group disbanded already.
You and I, was it Dynamite we were talking about this? Yeah. I've had my fill of it. And it's only been like 4 weeks, but I've had my fill of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang.
Yeah.
We also had a tag match of Julia Hart and Sky Blue taking on Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. Got a little bit messy in the middle, but they kind of picked it up towards the end, and Willow got the win, probably setting up a TBS title match.
You would think so. Again, it was fine.
Fine.
One of those deals where you'll watch the pay-per-view and you probably don't need to go back and watch the pre-show.
Yeah.
Some of these pre-shows are really great, where you'll get Eddie Kingston, Tomohiro Ishii, or Eddie Kingston and Jun Akiyama or whatnot. This wasn't one of them. This was like, we'll do a couple prelim matches to warm up the crowd.
That's it.
And that's fine.
That's what they're there for.
You know, it wasn't 4 matches on the pre-show and make you feel like, this is a 14-match card. I really got to stay awake for it.
Yeah.
There was just a couple quick matches and get in, get out. It's fine.
They did what they were supposed to do, which is warm the crowd up.
Yeah.
And this crowd were then hot for our opener here.
Well, before we get to that, one of the other important things on this pre-show, the return of Pac.
Yeah.
Pac announcing in one of his creepy video montage things that he's been doing in AEW, has announced that he's on his way back, which is very exciting.
It is. Fightful Select reported that there was a genuine concern and worry that he was never going to be back and he was never going to be able to wrestle again.
That's insanity.
It seems wild, considering that, spoilers, Kyle O'Reilly also comes back on this show, and they had the exact same concern over him. But yeah, Pac is coming back. I'm really, really glad about that.
My dude,
yeah.
We've been talking about the state of this roster for a while now, and the influx of main event guys that are going to be coming in, and to just, oh, gee, thanks, Mom, you shouldn't have. Here, have Pac and Kyle O'Reilly back as well.
Yeah.
This is an all-time roster, and they're about to go and do something nuts.
And we haven't even got Kenny back yet. And, hopefully we can get Kenny back as well. And, it's because I think Bryan Alvarez made this point, and it's something I very much agree with. The one thing that AEW really is missing at the moment is a baby face.
Yeah.
The top baby face. Because Swerve is a tweener.
Mm-hmm.
Hangman is now a heel. Joe feels like he's a heel. They need the big top star baby face. They need whatever their Cody Rhodes is.
Sure.
And I would like to think that's always going to be Kenny Omega, but Kenny also is an incredible top heel. I just want when he comes back, I just want him to be a top guy. I'm sick of seeing mid-card Kenny Omega in AEW.
I don't know how long we'll have to wait before Will Ospreay might step into that role, because this crowd sure was ready to embrace him.
That's the guy I would put forward. But our opening contest for the TNT Championship was Christian Cage versus Daniel Garcia. First off, shout out to the guy who had the WrestleTalk support each other sign.
Yeah. There was another guy I saw with a WrestleTalk sign as well. There were a couple of them. So shouts out to both of y'all.
I spotted them during the Blackpool Combat Club entrance, and then during Sting Celebration I spotted them. So so thank you so much for those signs, by the way. So you're great. One of my favorite things about this match, because I love Christian. Christian feigns an injury on his leg. Mm-hmm. They're doing the international, and he sort of trips over Daniel Garcia, and he's selling the leg, and it's like, ooh, ow, my leg. And he uses that to get the heat. But when Garcia makes his comeback, he actually hurts his leg. So Christian is then selling the leg that he was pretending to sell earlier. I thought it was a really nice little wrinkle.
And it's a very apt thing, because I don't know if you saw the promo that Daniel Garcia cut on socials after their deal this week, but he cut this incredible promo talking about how karma is coming for you, Christian. And I've had my dose of karma because of all the horrible things that I was made to do in this company. But I'm righting that wrong, and karma is going to come and bite you in the ass. And if it doesn't, I'm going to make it happen. So just to start this match with ooh, I'm going to fake a knee injury, and then that knee to end up being the thing that gets worked over. Perfect wrestling storytelling.
I also loved Nigel McGuinness on commentary. He was praising Christian Cage for not taking the cheap count-out victory when he was getting the heat. But once Garcia started making his comeback and Christian started throwing him to the outside to get the count-out victory, Nigel's like, such a smart game plan.
He's so great. I love Nigel.
Then Daniel Garcia did the 10-punch spot in the corner. That didn't end with 10 punches. It had 9 punches. And then he just started doing his dance and thrusting his dick in his face.
And he threw the turtleneck back over Christian's head like a hockey jersey. Mm-hmm. I love it. I really enjoyed the potential count-out spots because it was a really good example of basic escalation in a match. He gets dumped to the outside. He gets back up. Christian just kind of goes and knocks him off the apron. Then he gets up. And then he goes and he does his move where he kind of hangs him over the ropes. And then he throws him into the post. And it's it keeps getting more and more and more each time.
Yeah.
So while someone could see that, we had the same thing in the Brock Cody match at SummerSlam, where some people were very critical of it, being like, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. But as long as that kind of spot continues to escalate, you're still telling a story where Christian's trying a little bit harder to try and get this count-out victory. And he just won't stay down. And that ended up being the story of Daniel Garcia all the way until the end when the numbers outnumbered him.
Unfortunately, the numbers game did get advantage of him. I loved how, because he'd been working over the leg, Christian went to do the spear, and he buckled as he ran towards him. And Garcia just sort of like looked at him, looked at the crowd, was like, pile driver. Grabbed him and hit the pile driver for a great near fall.
That everyone bought, too.
Yeah.
He basically ran into his clutches. Like, because he again, ran to do the spear, doubled over perfectly as he was running, that Garcia just had to go, okay, let's do it.
Karma.
It's brilliant. Love this match.
Daddy Magic ran out and he brawled with Kill Switch, but it was not enough, unfortunately, because Nick Wayne, who had previously been back body dropped over the guardrail into the Timekeeper area, came up, and I think he hit Wayne's World, or just like a hit Daniel Garcia.
He hung him up on the ropes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then Christian hit the Unpretty for the win.
Yeah. Very good match.
Really, really good.
Hot opener.
Yep.
It felt still like, oh, they could have crowned Garcia here, so there was the real emotion behind it from the crowd, but also isn't the kind of match where if they don't do it, then we're mad at the booker for not pulling the trigger. It was like, maybe they will, but they don't have to. And those matches are really, really fun, especially with guys like Christian that you're going to be happy to still see as champion, and Daniel Garcia, who you know their moment is coming.
We then cut immediately to the back, because TNA is also back here. I really liked this presentation.
Oh, I loved it.
It's because it's Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson, and it cuts back to Lexi Nair not going to interview Bryan Danielson, just giving an update on where Danielson is at and what his story is. And then Danielson just goes and does his entrance. He finishes his entrance, they cut to the back, and Renee Paquette does the same thing for Kingston. I thought it was a really cool presentation.
It was so good. It felt so sport-like.
Yeah.
Because she had already gone and done the interview. But they're not going to interview this guy just before he steps through the curtain to do his big match. So they just cut back and, like you would in a football game or whatnot, just have the sideline reporter be like, I spoke to him earlier today. This is what he said. And now here he is. And then you do it with both guys. And I was like, why don't we see more of this? Because granted, I understand it's kind of going with the presentation of the Continental Crown and no outside interference. It's supposed to be a more sports-based thing anyway. But I was like, this is great for a wrestling show.
Yeah, really like this. And then these two had a war. Oh, man, this match was so good. This match is so good. Eddie Kingston decided that he really fancied chops for dinner. And so he was chopping the ever-loving piss out of Bryan Danielson. And Danielson, on the apron, like against the ropes. And he chops him. Danielson takes a couple of steps. So he follows him, chops him, another couple of steps. And then he goes to chop him again. Danielson jumps down, and Kingston chops the ring post. Goaded him into it. Lulled him in. Took the hits, took the beating. Because he knew he could take advantage of it. And he then worked over the hand. And anytime Eddie tried to make a comeback, the hand would give out. He couldn't quite lock things in. He couldn't quite get the plum stretch in. There was just loads of things he was trying, and it just was not working. And every time Danielson was like, gotcha, back out, attacking the hand, and just dominated on him again. And he even at one point hit the spinning back fist, but could not take advantage of it because he hit him with the bad hand. And it meant that when it got to the ending, he kicked out of the... So they had the knee plus, the steppies and the chokehold, what put him out on Dynamite. But he survived that. And he then bakes his comeback. He's got so much like crowd heat and support behind him now. And he makes this awesome one-handed comeback. He's trying to slap with both hands, but the hand is bothering him. So he just fires up and he just goes all left-handed. Left hand, left hand, left hand. Danielson, because he can take advantage of that, powers over him, goes to hit the knee plus, and Eddie Kingston, with a left arm lariat, just blocks him in air, and he then muscles him up, struggles upon struggles, muscles him up for the powerbomb, and he gets the win. All fighting spirits, and it was awesome.
This was my favorite match ever for about an hour, but... oh my God, it was just so tremendous. And granted, there are loads of wrestling shows that do this sort of thing very well. But I thought on this show, they did such a great job of setting up, highlighting, and paying off individual stories in individual matches. Based off of what we've already seen, been told in promos and just in wrestling and everything. Where you had the karma-based storytelling of the opener. And then this match... again, was a completely different story. And you could look at it as, oh, is you just working over a body part or whatever. But if you want to connect things, the whole thing was, I have to shake your hand. So maybe I'll just break that hand.
In fact, like at the end of this, when he had to shake his hand, Eddie shook his hand and he went, "That's the bad hand."
It was, a cherry on top of a fantastic match. Every time these two get in the ring together, I'm like, I know this is going to be great. And then somehow it surpasses all the expectations I could have. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And it's funny here. I won't speculate too much, but there's, always talk of people not wanting to put people over, backstage and such. And then you've got Bryan Danielson, who just seems like a pig in S-word anytime he gets to go out there and lose.
Yeah, he loves it.
He's just a perfect wrestler. They both are.
And they did show the respect afterwards. Danielson did shake his hand. He raised his hand. He left the ring so Eddie could bask in the thunderous chants for Eddie Kingston. I know. I can see them in the chat, and I know we've had chats. I see them in the comments. I get that there are some people who don't get Eddie Kingston. They don't see what the hype is. They don't get it. And I can't figure out what it is to explain my position on this. I just can't. Because when I watch him, I'm like, that dude is real. That dude, for me, is just real pro wrestling. And I love him to pieces, and I want to see him win. I don't know how to explain that in words, but those are the only words I can think of. Yeah,
100%. And you take that even further, because I don't know if have you seen
the social thing?
The social thing that they did, where if you haven't seen it, it's on all of AEW socials, where they're in the back, Danielson and Kingston, after this match, and they're in the trainer's room, and they do such a marvelous piece of storytelling. I almost don't want to even spoil it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But it's about respect and what that handshake meant to both guys and how they feel about one another coming out of it. And I was literally in this match going, oh, well, Eddie could win, and like Bryan could shake his hand and then, maybe double crosses him in a few weeks, and they do another match, another big show. And this is one of those things where they're always going to be fighting for whatever. And then I saw that promo afterwards and went, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe now you can do them as a tag team against the Young Bucks or whatever, like we were speculating this past week. I don't know if that's the direction they'll go, but like, it was marvelous. If that's the end of their story, they nailed it.
Yeah, really, really did. I think back to when I interviewed Eddie on this channel. Me, Ollie, and Denise interviewed him. And it's funny because, a few people have asked me, like, what was it like in interviewing Eddie Kingston? And I'm like, I don't know where the character starts and when the real person ends. And I just think they're all one and the same. But in that promo segment back there, I was like, have I been worked this whole time? Because everything that Eddie was talking about there is what he was talking about in this interview. It is like, has he just been on this big 3-year journey of telling these stories? I want to say 3 years. It's really a 20-year journey he's been going on. But I think more or less it's because for the last 20 years, he has felt disrespected by this industry and by his peers for right or for wrong. And now he is starting to earn their respect. And he has earned the respect of Claudio. And he's earned the respect of Bryan. And he's earned the respect of Joe. And kind of in a way, Punk. And all of these people that told him 20 years ago, you've got potential, but you'll never amount to anything. He has amounted to it.
Yeah. I love this man.
He's so great.
Put the big belt on him.
Yeah. Put all the belts on him.
Every single one.
Yeah.
We're halfway there. He's got 3 of them.
Also, I saw, and the other thing is people said, I need to get Danielson a title before he retires.
Why?
I don't think he does. I just don't think he needs one. It's Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. Listen, I've been wanting to see Bryan Danielson, AEW World Champion, have this great run the entire time he's been here as well. But if he doesn't get it, I'm not going to look back on this run and go, nothing.
Yeah. Here is what I would have cut from the show. Don't get me wrong, I had fun with the match. It was the All-Star Scramble, Hook versus Powerhouse Hobbs versus Lance Archer versus Magnus versus Brian Cage versus Wardlow versus Dante Martin versus Chris Jericho. You and I joked on the prediction show that the Magnus Seidel match, I was like, was it just filmed a couple of weeks ago? Turns out it was. And the stakes for this match were not a part of that when they filmed it. But yeah, the qualifying match was filmed a while ago. But anyway, look, this was good. It was a fun match.
Solid. 8
guys getting in there. The 4 big men did their meat stuff, and the crowd tried to meet and had fun with it. The smaller lads all got in and did their, the high-flying stuff. I enjoyed the moment when Hook locked in the Red Rum on Wardlow, and Jericho locked in the Walls of Jericho at the same time. Thought that was really cool. And Wardlow hit the last ride on Dante Martin for the win.
Yeah. This was the match where throughout my day, I've gone like, yeah, that Sting match was incredible. Oh, but oh my God, the Will Ospreay match too. Oh, but Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston. The inverse of that is when I go like, oh yeah, there was that 8-man. You know? It was like, it wasn't a bad match by any means, but it was the thing where I was just like, sure, it's fine. I probably would have just done a 4-way Meat Madness match with the 4 big meaty men, because those were the guys that people cared the most about.
And like, who are you going to pin? They got a Brian Cage right there. Like, it's him. You could pin Lance Archer. Like, it doesn't matter too much. This was a match for Wardlow to get a win. And I think people would have preferred it if it was just a fatal 4-way.
This was also a match to get Chris Jericho on the show.
I guess so. But
I'll be honest, I just don't think we need to do for everyone. It won't kill you.
I don't think it was needed.
No.
I really don't, because I think you could have used some of this time for the Sting retirement later on. And in our next match, give a bigger thing for Kyle coming back.
Yeah. It was what it was, and this is really kind of the only complaint I have about the show.
Yeah.
So that's pretty darn good.
Same.
But it was a good match that felt at times maybe a little bit pointless.
Yeah, I'd agree. But, Wardlow won. He's getting a world title match.
Hey, we're getting the Wardlow rematch. It's kind of what we thought we would see.
Yeah.
So, at least logically, we're going in the direction that makes sense.
We then had Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong for the International Championship. Boy, howdy, did these two start off hot as well. And this match was here to remind everyone just who the hell Roderick Strong is.
I love it.
And he was there to be in full Messiah of the Backbreaker. And he did this. There were 3 gnarly spots on this show. There was the Darby glass bump. Mm-hmm. There was the Will Ospreay brainbuster. Mm-hmm. And there was Roderick Strong doing a gut-wrench backbreaker to the top rope turnbuckle onto Orange Cassidy. Mm-hmm. Holy poop. It was nuts.
I can't believe how many of these type of spots I've seen the last year and a bit, because for a very long time, it seemed like anybody who tried to do one of these kind of things, something would go horribly wrong. Either the move just wouldn't look good, or, someone might get hurt a little bit or whatnot. But here, they just keep nailing it. And this looked horrifying. Yeah. And I've not heard anything about Orange Cassidy being hurt or anything.
He just jokingly tweeted, "My back hurts."
But man, what a match. Roderick Strong is still that guy.
Yeah.
And I get that we have been saying for a long time that this Undisputed Kingdom thing isn't working for us. And I'll be honest, at a point, the Adam stuff was running dry with me too. The Next Strong thing, I think, ran its course and such. But when the bell just rings and Roderick Strong goes out there on a pay-per-view, he can go out there and have one of the best matches on any show that he's on.
And he did here.
And he did on this stacked show. This is still going to be one of the matches where if I watch this again, I'm not going to skip it. I'm going to sit down excited to watch Roderick Strong win a championship in AEW.
A singles championship. I'm really pleased for him as well, because I'm a big Roddy mark. And I enjoyed the Adam stuff. And the reason why is because one thing people always said about Roderick Strong is oh yeah, he's great, but he's got 0 personality.
Right.
But this one was showing him comedic chops, and it's oh yeah, he has got something. But no, this is the Roderick Strong I want, which is the Roderick Strong that goes out there and just breaks people's backs. He was awesome.
Mr. ROH.
Yeah. And he just won. I was fully expecting the Kingdom to run in, Taven and Bennett. But no, Roddy just hit his move. He hit the end of Heartache, and he won. And that was it. Went clean as a sheep.
I mean, it was... I completely agree. I was shocked that this was as clean a match as it was. And it was clean as a sheet. He just beat him. But when you look at what happened on the pre-show where Orange Cassidy tells the rest of the best friends, don't come out. I don't want you to get hurt. just let us do this match. I was like, okay, well, he's surely going to get, screwed over by this team that, whatever. But also part of that segment was Doc Samson being like, I will not clear you unless you tape up your ribs and back.
Yeah.
And I was like, against Roddy Strong, the messiah of the backbreaker. Oh, this is not going to go well for you.
Nope.
And someone in that, setting should probably just lose clean to the guy who is specifically the best at breaking your back.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Makes sense.
It again is the sort of thing we saw in his last title dropping match to Jon Moxley. Is Orange Cassidy's done a really good job with this character of just, I'm going to go until I have nothing left in the tank, and then I'll lose.
Yeah.
But until then, you're going to have to beat every bit of life out of me in order to do that. And I love the idea of this story where, it took 31 defenses or whatever the first time, and then he won the title back, and it only took 10 or so, because he's still just his body's not recovered yet. I don't know what you do with him after this, but I thought this was a great end to a second, also good run.
And then from out of nowhere, and I've seen the video of it now, he literally ran through the crowd, hopped over the barricade, because Taven and Bennett get into the ring and they're celebrating with Roddy. And then just from out of nowhere, this dude with shaggy hair just jumps in the ring. I was like, what's Kyle O'Reilly? Kyle O'Reilly made his return, and I don't know the man personally, but this looked like a man who was not expecting this level of reaction for his return.
I marked out bigger for this than I did for anything on the show, because I love this man.
Mm-hmm.
I want nothing but the best for Kyle O'Reilly, and I was so sad after 7 months or whatever it was of this very good AEW run he had been on to have it cut short. And then we hadn't seen him for a year and a half. And at times it was like, who knows if we get Kyle O'Reilly back? Who knows if we get to resume that really awesome run? And then I had no idea this was coming.
Nope.
Absolutely no rumors or nothing that I'd seen. And just Kyle O'Reilly shows up on my screen and I lost my friggin' mind. And I'm so glad that everyone else in the building did too.
Yeah.
Because this man is so awesome. I don't care about the goofy nonsense, whatever that Undisputed Era did. It's the wrestling matches that these lads had that made everyone fall in love with them. It's going out and having the best match on every takeover and every tag title match for a year and a half. These guys were the dudes. And if we get another one of them back, hot dog, that looks good.
I was so thrilled. Roddy did an interview promoting this show where someone had asked, is there any update on Kyle? And he's like, oh yeah, I think he'll be back by the summer. I think he'll be back sooner than you think. And I was like, oh, that's great. Because that's the first time I've heard anyone say anything really positive about Kyle. And I was like, the summer? That's awesome. And I didn't really think about it at all until I saw Kate from Fightful being like, wouldn't it be amazing if Kyle O'Reilly showed up and helped Roddy win? And I was like, that would be amazing.
Well, it's still funny. We don't know where this is going to go.
Nope.
Because he comes in, slides into the ring, and looks like he's maybe going to square off with Roddy, but then gives him a hug, and everyone cheers. And then Bennett takes off his shirt and offers it to Kyle O'Reilly, giving him the invite to join the Undisputed Kingdom. And he just folds it and puts it on Roddy's shoulder, whispers something in his ear, and then leaves. And he looked really emotional. And it, to me, and it's like, I'm very glad to have heard all the reports now that he's like, yeah, he's ready. He's going to come back. It's going to be great. Because it looked like he's going to come in and on Wednesday be like, I have to retire. It's bad. And I was like, oh no, I don't know where the story's going to go from here. Maybe it's all a double cross on somebody else that he's going to align himself with. And he ends up with these guys. I don't know. But I just know I'm happy to see Kyle back.
Man, it was so awesome. It really did feel like what he was saying to him was like, I'll think about it. Because there's certainly the hug, but it was giving him the shirt back. It was like, look, I've just got back. I need some time, but it's good to see you. And well done on winning the belt. But he just looks so emotional about this return. It genuinely got me. Really, really excited to have him back. We then had FTR versus Blackpool Combat Club.
Oh, the show is amazing.
Another I've written here, this is mean dude wrestling.
Oh, it is.
This was mean dudes doing some wrestling.
There's a little bit of everything on this card.
There really was. Like, I loved just Claudio and Dax starting together because they were so good together. Then Cash and Mox just got over like, I'm just going to beat the piss out of you.
Yep.
And they did. And then Dax got posted. And boy, how did he hit a gusher.
I was going to use those exact words. And I don't want to gloss over how awesome it is for Jon Moxley and Claudio to come out in the Road Warrior gear as well. I saw that and went, oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
And they come down and he hits this gusher. And I literally got in and editor Ellis was like, oh, did Mox bleed on this show? And I went, no. The other guy did. And he really did. Oh, yeah. My Lord, I loved Jon Moxley putting Cash Wheeler in the corner and just be like, listen, you're nothing to me. Your friend's nothing to me. Your team's nothing to me. You're just a couple of frauds or whatever. And just starts like just beating him up and went, surely FTR has to win after that. And they didn't.
No. I was so shocked.
This was the crowning of a new top contender tag team.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked one bit if they win the tag tournament to become champions.
I have said in a podcast previously that I think the blood often makes wrestling better. And this was one of those examples where the blood in this match just elevated this just like a half a step up. And because when they just start getting in and just start beating the piss out of each other, you had the giant swing, the basement drop kick, you had the shatter machine, you had the spike pile driver, neutralizers on the floor.
A doomsday device with an uppercut, like a step-up springboard uppercut.
Yeah.
That Dax took and then landed on his shoulder.
Yeah. It was just, and then he got to this series of near falls with Dax and Mox in the ring. Those two worked together so great. And then the Combat Club just choked them both out. Wasn't one of them. They choked them both out.
I think the blood is a very good point as well, because not only, like, I get that Mox has a reputation and such, and it's become a meme, it's become parody to some people, and I get it. I'm not bothered by it. It's fine. But I know some people will look at this tag match and be like, oh, of course there was blood in it. But if any match on this show should have been a little bit bloodier and meaner and everything, it should have been this throwback Mid-Atlantic tag match.
Yeah. And like them coming out with the Road Warriors, like FTR already are a throwback tag team. This did feel like a throwback tag match.
This was some southern, bloody, mean guy wrestling from Mid-Atlantic in Greensboro Coliseum. And again, if that's what you want, you got it on this show. And if you were there 30, 40 years ago in Greensboro watching that and go like, oh yeah, we're going to go and see the wrestling, Sting's retiring and whatever, and you see this, I'm sure there were people who'd be like, oh, it reminds me of back in my day. Yeah. Not that they're that old, because, you know, the 80s weren't that long ago.
This is like, oh, this wrestling's back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, because they've announced the tag title tournament, this is your final.
Oh, that's fun.
FTR, Blackpool Combat Club, and that's where FTR get the win. Because they have taken all the L's in this feud so far. Like, Dax has beaten Mox. They couldn't get the time limit. They couldn't beat them at the time limit.
Mox beat Dax.
Mox beat Dax, you're sorry, yeah, you're right. Couldn't beat them at the time limit, even though they nearly had the match won, and then they lost again here. You put them on opposite sides of the brackets, and this is the final. Crowning new tag champs.
If you want, I would imagine, I don't know this, but I would imagine that is a match that you could then have on the Dynasty show. Because, you know, 5-6 weeks, that's a good amount of time to have a good tournament. And if you want to have that be your next match, this is a pretty good advertisement for that next pay-per-view.
Me too. I agree. For the AEW Women's World Championship, it was Toni Storm versus Deonna Purazzo. This, you mentioned this earlier, had another great fake-out entrance. Because Purazzo makes her entrance, as per normal, and then Toni Storm's original AEW theme hits, which is great because this whole thing has been about Deonna wants the old Toni Storm back. And sure enough, the old Toni Storm walks out. And it took me a beat to be like, oh, no, wait, that's Mariah May.
I do not personally think these two look especially alike.
They don't.
But in a full getup with glasses on, I was like, oh, wait a minute. And from everything that I've seen, most people had the same reaction.
I totally did not. I totally got blindsided by it. It took me a full beat to be like, oh, no, wait, that's Mariah May, because they don't look alike. But you put a baseball cap on that one, it's like, oh my God, it's Toni Storm.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Because then the timeless music hits. Out comes Toni Storm. Really, really good. They worked hard. They never had a lot of crowd heat for this, which I think is a shame because I thought they'd done some really good character stuff. I think the build for this has been much better than some people give it credit for. But this felt like it was missing that thing. Toni Storm got a tattoo for this feud, but it didn't have that killer heat to it.
Yeah. This is something that I've spoken about quite a bit fairly recently, in fact, where, a week ago on Collision, we had the Malachi Black, Bryan Keith match. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit disappointed in how it was, received and presented and everything, just because, they're both good wrestlers and they should put on a really good match. If they had that same match at, Defy or Prestige or something like that, I'm sure they would have torn the house down, had incredible heat. But it was an example of, well, Malachi's the star, and so we'll cheer the star. But the match is designed for him to be the heel. Mm. But the new guy is his opponent and is the babyface, but we don't know him well enough yet to get behind him. So therefore, when he's trying to get a comeback and he's sitting in a rest hold, the people aren't going to get behind him. And it was very much the same thing here, where no one thought Deonna Purrazzo was going to win this match. Nobody wanted to cheer her over Toni Storm. And it's just sort of like, I get that I think the character might work a little bit better as a heel, but unless you bring in somebody, maybe soon, to be opposite Toni Storm, you do run the risk of having this reaction to her matches, because odds are she'll be the more popular of the two people. And as a heel, that disrupts the flow of a match a lot of the time.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This only just hit me now. This is exactly what happened with Britt Baker. Britt Baker was a heel, but got over with the crowd through her role model thing and like the Jamie Hayter and Rebel act, that people started cheering her as the babyface, but they just kept booking her as their heel, doing all the heel shenanigans in matches. And as a result, a lot of her matches end up not having a lot of heat because people didn't want to boo her and they weren't cheering the people she was going against. But then they would just end in lots of multiple interference spots, distractions, and then she would cheat to win. And that's what happened here. Deonna had a visual tap out, but Luther distracted the referee. Mariah May distracted Deonna Purrazzo. And then Toni Storm hit the pile driver for the win.
Yeah. It was like it was well wrestled, and I would have liked them to have gotten a better reaction. But I'm also not that surprised that this is the reaction that they got.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Very similarly to the men's division that we were talking about earlier, I feel like the AEW women's division is very much lacking a top babyface right now.
It is, yeah.
And we might see that problem fixed very soon, but it does still also feel like there is a massive Jamie Hayter-shaped hole in this roster.
That's a good one, yeah. Oh, man. I forgot about Jamie.
Maybe that gets fixed sometime soon, too. We're crossing our fingers.
And then, Will Ospreay took on Konosuke Takeshita. Yeah, Don Callis out on commentary, so already I knew I was going to be in for a good time.
Yep.
I've written in my notes here, now that Will Ospreay is on the big stage, and particularly because he is signed with AEW, I'm going to have to get used to thick people trying to claim online that he's not very good.
Well,
I'm just going to have to come to terms with that, because I guarantee you that'll happen.
Well, surely. There are people of all kinds of opinions, but if that's yours, after seeing this match, I don't know what to tell you.
And then I had that at the start. By the end of it, I was like, there can't be a single person on this planet that has that opinion.
It's people that don't watch.
There can't be. And thankfully, I haven't seen it, because I don't think those people really do truly exist.
It wouldn't be their day to say that, to be fair. The only negative thing I will say about all of this is that the AEW fans are going to need to learn the bit in Will's song where it goes, whoa! That's it. They got the Ospreay bit, because he really got them in.
I was waiting for that, being like, please do it, please do it, please do it.
But the whoa... it's going to need some work.
Yeah.
We've got time, but it's like seeing Adam Cole's first entrance and nobody does the boom with his songs. They don't know it yet.
This crowd were alive.
This was a very good crowd in general.
Great crowd. But man, this crowd were alive for Will Ospreay.
He was a superstar to these people.
Absolutely, exactly. Like, you want to talk about top babyface potential? It's this guy right here, because this crowd just loved every single thing that he did. And these two started off slow. There were the rest holds and stuff, and I was like, oh, we're in for the New Japan. First 7 minutes is just feeling each other out, and then we're going to kick into overdrive. And boy, howdy, did we kick into overdrive with this match. There was a moment when Takeshita hit this German suplex, and he had this beautiful bridge on his tiptoes, and I was like, that's one of the best German suplexes I've ever seen. And then Don Callis said, that might be the best German suplex I've ever seen.
And it is wild to see what is not a standard move, but a move you may see in multiple matches on the show, and just be like, I think that's the best one ever.
I think it's the best thing I've ever seen. And then Will was trying to go for the Oscar. He tried it a couple of times. And on one of his occasions, and he did this big, huge, leaping Oscar forward, Takeshita grabbed him, spun him around, lost his footing, but he spun him even further, and he landed into a beautiful blue thunder bomb.
I don't know when the last time I popped bigger for just a move, not like a stunt or anything, but just like that was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. And Will's selling throughout this match. I loved his weak kickouts. Where it wasn't a kick out, it was just a rollover. It was so great, because these two, just when they were doing their striking exchange and doing the rolling elbows and stuff, hot dog, it was great. Will hit the cheeky Nandos, and Don Callis called it the cheeky Nandos because Don Callis knows. And then Takeshita hit this brainbuster, not into the corner, in the corners.
Oh my God. Like, Will, you've just gotten here. Please, we need you on this show for a little bit longer than one match. I'm begging you. Oh, that one took Luke out. Because for those who haven't seen, it is exactly as Luke has said. It is not just your suplex where you're on the ground and you suplex them into the ropes. No. This was Will Ospreay is facing the other way, and Takeshita brainbusters him down onto the ropes in the turnbuckle. It was like the Kenny Omega Will Ospreay spot from the Tokyo Dome last year.
Exactly.
That was still one of the craziest spots I had seen all year. And I think this will go down with a similar reputation.
The bruise, instant bruise, just like came up like halfway up his back and stuff. They advertised that he's facing Kyle Fletcher on Dynamite this week. Tony Khan said in the press conference that might not happen now. Because Will was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Because Will's mad. Yeah. Will's like, oh yeah, I'll do it. I'm here. I'll have that match. And then Tony Khan was like, it's questionable at the moment. Like it might not happen at this point because Will will need to get checked out. But that wasn't like not even just the half of the nastiness of this. Because they then had this sequence when they were going back and forth, and I adore Takeshita's wheelbarrow German.
Yep.
It's so great. And Will pop right back up, hidden blade, kick out at one. That's my only complaint I had about this match, is knowing that Sting's going to do a kick out at one in the main event. I don't think I'd do a kick out at one here.
That's fair.
But the crowd loved it. And so you can't take that away from the crowd. Went ballistic for it. This is awesome chant. Then Will hit a Tiger Driver 91 when Don Callis just went, nope.
It's when you start seeing your investments go a little bit too far.
Yeah.
When you're like, please, someone just win and both of you make it out alive. I don't think you could have put two wrestlers in an AEW ring right now that are crisper than these two lads.
Yeah.
Every single thing that Will Ospreay did, whether it was just the hook kicks or the strikes or any of his big signature moves, they were all as precise and as crisp as you could ever hope a wrestling move would be. And every single one of them got like these people on their feet. He got them up for like just the regular hook kicks.
Yeah.
Because he's the best.
He was just doing rolling elbows. He proper wound up for that rolling elbow as well. Takeshita's selling of that was so great. Proper like bam, down to the floor, like knocked out. And he hit the Tiger Driver 91, hit the hidden blade for the win. And I mean, just about a perfect debut. Like as a member of the main roster, a perfect debut match.
Can't ask for much better.
You couldn't. Like, this is, I mean, the best match on the show.
I would say so.
Yeah. And it's like, it'll be a match of the year contender. I think Will's going to have several of those by the end of this year.
Wembley's still going to come up.
Yeah. Because this dude is just it.
Like,
he's the man.
So good. It's going to be really interesting to see him on like a weekly pro wrestling American television show, because he's not done that. And we said last week in our Dynamite review that like this is going to take some getting used to. But my goodness, this man is a superstar. And now that's going to be exposed to a bunch of people that haven't seen him as regularly, as often. And I honestly, I think the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I think it really is.
It's very apt for his name and such. But just, my goodness, I could not believe the reactions this match was getting. And really, I should have. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where all these matches offered something different. Where you had, your Southern, bloodbath style in the tag match. You had these really simply defined wrestling matches about respect with Eddie Kingston and such.
The big gimmicks of Toni Storm and Purazzo.
And then you just got this. Go out there, 5-star match.
Yeah. Bless you. Awesome. But yeah, this was, I cannot say enough. Like, if you haven't seen this show, obviously go and watch the retirement match.
Yeah.
But do check this out. Like, this is a match, like, Ollie Davis is away at the moment. When he gets back and we're like, I'm having lunch with him on Wednesday, I'm like, you sit down right now because we need to watch Ospreay versus Takeshita. Don Callis came into the ring and sort of congratulated both men. Kyle Fletcher made his return as well. He got to celebrate with Will Ospreay. Will was tweeting about Dunkzilla coming back and like, we're ready for you to come back as well. I got to think that he is not long for this family, and neither is Kyle Fletcher.
No.
And the United Empire are going to run wild.
I'd like totally forgotten that Aussie Open is an AEW signed team.
Yeah.
Just because we haven't had the chance to see much of them in AEW yet. But when we do, with Will Ospreay there, this is going to be a big old faction. Put the trios titles on these guys pronto.
Yeah, put all the belts on them.
Yeah.
And then our last match to talk about is the triple threat for the AEW World Championship. It was Hangman Page versus Swerve Strickland versus Samoa Joe. Two very simple stories in this match, one of which, Joe, desperate champion, constantly having to break up pins to save his title, did not want to be in a triple threat because he does not have to be involved in the outcome in order to lose his belt. And Hangman and Swerve, just ever so slightly, in terms of Swerve, Hangman was very much so, distracting themselves from the main goal because they were so focused on each other.
Yeah. And
I loved it.
I went into this having no idea what was going to happen.
Same.
Anybody could win. They could win it one of many ways. And maybe a retention was like, the least exciting of the possibilities. Perfect.
Yeah.
Loved it.
In the opening 5 minutes of this match, I was like, oh, Samoa Joe's just the absolute best.
It's weird how we say that on every show.
Yeah. But like, Swerve went to do his uppercut that he does off the middle rope, and Joe did the walk-away spot, and I popped massively. I was like, oh, this dude's the absolute best.
It always works.
Yeah. Swerve got slightly cut under his eye in this because they were like beating the tire out of each other. And we had like one of our first big moments was Swerve hit the house call on Swerve stomp onto Joe. And they were like, he could go for the cover now. But he instantly locked eyes on Hangman Page. And he's like, no, if I'm going to win this match, I'm pinning that dude. And he went and he hit the house call on him and just got a 2 count. It's like, oh, if he'd have just gone for Joe. There was a moment, and they set this up in the weeks leading up to this as well. Hangman being very bad at this. He took a referee out from a Swerve thing. So Swerve had the match won. Hangman Page drags the referee out, and he wails on the referee. He jumps back in the ring. He takes out Swerve, and he hits 2 buckshot lariats on Joe. He has the match won, but he's taken out the referee. The referee's no longer there to count this pin. Another referee comes down, 2 count. Swerve has the match won for a second time, so Hangman kills that referee. And then it's just like, it kept going up and up. Where do we get to? Joe ducks the 3rd box shot, and he locks in the Kikina clutch. Swerve breaks that up with a Phoenix Splash. I think it was a Phoenix Splash or like a spiral tap.
Oh, it was the spiral tap. That's right.
Swerve then gets handed the Nana crown. Like Prince Nana was like, now's the time. And he's like, nope, not doing that. I'm not winning that. And that's when Page takes out the second referee to stop Swerve winning. Swerve then hits a buckshot of his own to Hangman Page. He hits the JML driver, but then Joe catches him with a half and half suplex and he chokes Page out. And they told an awesome, awesome end to this story. Did Hangman Page tap out because he was beaten, or did he tap out because it meant that Swerve wouldn't win?
Mm-hmm.
I love that detail.
I loved it as well. And I know some people might take issue with it because like, oh, well, the championship should be the pinnacle. It should be what everybody wants. The fact that he would like willingly tap out is maybe not what they want to see and whatever. But if this story is where we're still heading, and by all accounts, it seems like we are, that nothing at this point is going to be more important to Hangman Page than Swerve's failure.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, some people's goals are going to be different in wrestling, and as long as they're clearly defined, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
And these are they could be clearly defined. It's open-ended right now, but they've given you the theory of what could have happened here. And that speculation is going to be really interesting if we continue to see this going forward. I have no idea when their next match is going to be.
Well,
but
yeah, Fightful Slate reported that Page is taking some time off.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to be around for the next few months. But yeah, they didn't give a reason why, just saying he's taking some time away. They weren't even sure if he was going to be in this match.
Yeah.
But he's taking a few months off, so we'll find out the questions for that down the line. But I think with Page gone, that is just going to allow Swerve to really take off as possibly the number one babyface before they get to Will.
Could well be. We've definitely gone from heel to tweener to maybe full-on babyface at this point.
When he threw the crown away, I was like, that's a babyface spot right there.
Yep, sure is.
And then we had the main event, which was perfect. What a show.
What a show.
What a show.
10 out of 10 show,
Yep.
A+, all the stars.
All the stars. I completely agree with you. I think there is 2 matches on this card that are below 4 stars.
Yeah. And even still, they're like 3.5.
Yeah, not bad.
Which is still very good. Very good.
An insanely great show. I think it's going to do very well when we come to the end of year awards. I loved it.
Listen, they could very easily have the greatest show of all time at Wembley. They could have the greatest show of all time at Arthur Ashe. They could do whatever. Beat this one.
Yeah.
Good luck.
This is a high benchmark now. So good luck to them.
I hope they do.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I hope I get to review it.
Let us know in the polls. Let us know what you thought of this show. It is up there. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. We'll read out the rest of your Ultrachats. Ding, ding, ding. This is your last call. Audio Flesh here says, Sting match was everything on an S tier level. Whether a new fan or old, you knew the importance of Sting and his legacy. AEW did a superb job. Props to TK. He has brought us numerous presentations of career legacies unseen anywhere else. Come to Columbus, Ohio.
Indeed.
I'll talk to you for a moment.
Absolutely. Slider says, the worst part of the Darby ladder spot is that the initial angle on the pay-per-view looked like he just yeeted himself off the ladder for nothing, and it took until the replay to realize he was aiming for the Bucks. Other than that, great match. It was sort of like the Jeff Hardy Hell in a Cell spot where he's swinging and then just drops well after Orton had gotten off the thing, but it actually was fairly good timing. The final poll results as well on the Darby spot was 82% liked it, 17% did not, and of course a little bit of change in there.
That's more of a landslide than I thought.
Absolutely.
I really thought that was going to be more split. I'm genuinely surprised by that.
Yeah. The legit underboss, Jimmy Thomas, says Sting being cut off by providers is AEW giving fans one last WCW moment.
That's great.
That's very good. The Roller Costa says, hey guys, sometimes you see a wrestler, you see their look, their moveset, their aura, and you just get it. That was Sting for me. After being my favorite for nearly 26 years, I'm happy to say I saw him live and saw him retire. What a guy, my hero. Very, very good. Pika Pig says, as someone who was born the same day WCW died, March 26, 2001, it's amazing to see Sting get to go out on top and on his own terms. Hopefully he can come in a backstage role and keep his hand in the wrestling business in some form. I hope that he gets to do whatever he wants to do in wrestling. I'm sure AEW will give him everything that he wants.
He's like employee for life, more or less.
Absolutely. CK says, hello, I'm in the UK, but watched along with friends in the States. They thought the Bucks would win, and I chose Sting. I got a bit excited by screaming, tap, you bitch, at Matthew. I adored this show. Will and Cinnabad Boy was remarkable. Take care, all of you. Likewise.
Oh, yeah.
John Millar says, hey, guys, love the pay-per-view and happy to see that Sting got the proper send-off. Imagine someone who hadn't watched wrestling in a long time ordering this pay-per-view for Sting's retirement and watching Takeshita and Ospreay. Tempest, did you see the Reeves and Rempe fight? I did. That little bastard taking out our new defenseman. We got a new guy on the Leafs. The Leafs just traded for someone to help out on defense, which has been our weakest spot for years and years and years. We finally get one, and there's this kid who legit has played maybe 5 NHL games, 5 or 6 at this point, but he's like 6'7", and he's gotten in a fight in like all but one of his games. His penalty minutes are ridiculous, but he's just like, I'm gonna come in and beat the piss out of you. And he goes in and takes out our new guy, hits him in the head, he leaves the game, and then our guy, who's literally only paid to get in there and fight, just went, oh yeah, we'll see about that. And there was a photo from before this, but he's just like, his kid, he just double black eyes and everything. It's like, welcome to the NHL, buddy.
Crikey.
So, yes, I did see it. Teddy Burns says, what a show. For the first time in a while, I feel like the spirit of AEW is really back, and maybe better than ever. Now that Sting is retired, who do you think should be the next person to fill Sting's spot as the top legend in AEW?
I didn't really got one. I was
like really?
Not like Sting levels of legendary. I guess it's Danielson probably is like...
Yeah, it's a weird
it's only because he's retiring in the summer.
Yeah. Well, that's someone who's going on this kind of like retirement tour, final run type thing. So maybe it's got a little bit of the same sort of vibe to it, but it's difficult to find another guy who's like Sting in that regard. You know, like they don't come around very often, and there aren't very many people who can go in there and be as selfless as Sting was. I say as somebody who won every single one of his matches, but still gave a lot to all the people he faced, and to still be able to go.
I mean, well, selfless is a word I would use even for a guy who didn't lose any of his matches, because by all accounts, TK like talked him into winning here. When he was just like, no, you should go out on top. In the same way that TK and like a few others had to talk Sting into winning the tag belts, being like, no, you should win the tag belt.
Yeah.
You're undefeated as a tag team. You should be. And Sting's like, oh yeah, I go, when you put it that way, I guess I should win the tag belts. Oh yeah, when you put it that way, I guess I should go out on top.
Yeah. I don't have a good answer for you, but maybe someone like a Danielson.
Copeland?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I would say Jericho, but people don't really like Jericho.
Yeah.
People are ready for Jericho to move on. Talk about someone being selfless.
Nick here says, well, my Hangman prediction didn't come true, but I'm definitely not disappointed. The show was awesome. I think Swerve beats Joe at Dynasty for the belt. Swerve versus Hangman rematch at Double or Nothing. Swerve versus Ospreay for the belt at All In.
I could see it. You know, it's weird. Like throughout all this, Swerve and Ospreay for the title at Wembley has always been like, well, it makes sense.
I don't want Swerve to have a short run with that belt.
I don't either. I want him to have a real proper run.
El Jefe says, hello, Tempest. Hello, Luke. Do you think the Swerve has another shot at the title? Do you think AEW can top this dynasty coming up?
Well, listen. It's like I just said. I hope they do. If anybody can right now, you add Mercedes, you add an Okada, you add Pac and Kyle O'Reilly and put them all on a pay-per-view card. Not saying everybody would be on it, but listen, if anybody could top this show, it would be them right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very high bar, but I'm got my fingers crossed.
I mentioned this to you earlier, but a tweet I did see that really made me laugh was just like, man, maybe they should just book Sting retirement for every show. It really ramped up how good the show was.
Wasn't it that easy?
The roller coaster back again to say, minus the Sting match, the three-way was my favorite match of the night. Watched it with my in-laws and explaining the history of Swerve and Hangman, and watching it come into the finale of the match was perfect. Swerve's face was crushed.
A tremendous babyface reaction at the end of this. Like he had it. It was right there. He could taste it. And now he has to wait just a little bit longer.
Richie here says, I got to see Revolution with my little brother, Ryder, and it was a perfect first in-person pay-per-view. Ospreay versus Takeshita was easily the best match I've ever seen live. Hangman still did nothing wrong, and Sting got the perfect send-off. An easy 5 out of 5 show.
Heck yeah.
Chris here says, I just wanted to ask why it seems ever since Julia Hart defied the no praise for Alexa Bliss rule. People have been giving her a hard time. It's the same people who were praising her before.
I don't know.
Chris, I will read the rest of this, but before she gave Alexa any credit, perhaps she should have said AJ Lee. Can I ask you to tell me people about someone's name Alexa as one of the best to come out of the PC? Does Alexa Bliss get dragged the entire weekend? Do you think Alexa has done something to you? Chris, I don't know how many more times to tell you, but I don't know where you see this.
Yeah.
I feel you go looking for this, and if you see one person say it, then you think everyone's saying it, but I'm telling you now, bud, I don't see the same things that you do.
I don't think most people in wrestling media have thought about Alexa Bliss at all since she's left for her pregnancy.
No, I don't think anyone has. She's not come up in any conversations that we've had on here, in the live chat. I don't see it happening, bud.
No.
Ilan Wall has been a member for 5 months in a row, said, fantastic show, and my biggest criticism is that Dante Martin was going way too fast. That's fantastic. So many terrific matches, and a wonderful goodbye.
Indeed.
Justin has been a member for 31 months in a row, said, pay-per-view of the year so far, match of the year so far with Will and Takeshita. The only knock on the show I have is that Swerve did not win. Give us Swerve.
But you'll get it. Him losing here is going to make the eventual win mean more.
Space Viking, who do you guys think has the best moveset? Because Roddy, man, I've never seen a wrestler with so many moves that look so painful. 4 jokes. Carl whispered, where's the line?
Very good.
And we all saw Samoa Joe acknowledging his tribal chief after winning, right? I didn't see that.
I certainly didn't see that.
No, but I do like that. Where's the line?
It's just his way of asking, where's Bobby?
I've been gone for a while. I hear Bobby kicked out of the GTS.
As far as movesets go, there's so many that have really, really good ones. Kenny Omega's always near the top. Will, honestly,
yeah.
Will's got 4 different finishers and they're all great.
Boy does everything.
Yeah.
Ryan here said, honestly, one of the best pay-per-views ever of any wrestling promotion card was great. I had a feeling that the bruv Billy the Goat was going to put on a great match, and by God did he deliver. Can't wait to see what else is in store for AEW this year.
Amen.
Will here, I was scared that Bryan wouldn't put Eddie over. That said, the match was incredible. These two beat the paint off each other, and Eddie's selling and resilience was brilliant. Love the endorsement at the end. Also, I saw the Darby Jeff spot in person.
I really wish I could have seen that match. I love that match. I think that match is fantastic. It's a shame that that's really kind of the only big cool thing that Jeff has gotten to do in AEW.
Yeah.
Through no fault of, anybody else, but I love that match, so I'm jealous.
Goose Egg has been a member for 9 months in a row, said, I know All In is in Wembley Stadium, but is Revolution AEW's big show of the year? Every year it seems to have the biggest match and does not miss. We talked about this in the prediction show.
We did.
It's weird, but if you say, what's AEW's biggest show? We're like, it's All Out.
Yeah, or I've seen people say Double or Nothing.
Because it's the first one.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. But historically, it's Revolution.
This is going to end up being, if I had to guess at this point, this will end up being the 3rd Revolution that's going to win a wrestling show of the year.
Yeah. We have an unknown username. Please do let our moderators know. It's a Streamlabs issue. It said, this was the first pay-per-view I've bought, and I couldn't be happier. Between the return of War Jody, Pac, Kyle looking like he wanted to kill someone, and stereo super kicks to Ric Flair, Sting's last match was the best. Now he can retire with his base in peace. The Derbies of Derp said, you mentioned earlier how AEW was lacking a top-of-the-card babyface, and I feel that's intentional. We're going to see a big, long stretch of heels fighting over the world title to make things feel hopeless, only for MJF to come back and save the company.
Yeah, we'll see. I do kind of wonder where MJF's going to fit in all this when he eventually comes back.
Feuding with Adam Cole, I guess.
Yeah.
Alistair here said, hey guys, non-wrestling related, but I wanted to invite the WrestleTalk officer to a game of ice hockey with high wrestling themed content. Where's the best place to send an invite to you guys? Support@WrestleTalk.com. That'd be the best place to email us. We have a new member in Billy Stevens. And one last chat here from Dana. He said, great show. Legit cried during Sting's entrance with his sons. Ospreay versus Takeshita was so good. I stopped playing my video game on the other screen and just watched in awe. Probably my favorite singles match since Taker versus Shawn at 25.
That is a very long time.
That is a long time.
15 years.
And did you not see Ospreay Omega from last year? They did that twice. Let's just end this poll and see what you thought. Again, it's another landslide, so...
Less shocking
this one, but it is 91% thumbs up, with 6 in the middle.
What's wrong with you, 6%? What do they need to do more?
But that is going to do it. Just one last final refresh. Yep, we are done. Thank you all so much for watching. We're back tomorrow with a review of WWE Raw. What's on the show tomorrow?
Not a clue.
What is on the show?
Shouts out to y'all going from Ospreay and Takeshita to the Awesome Truth.
Hey, I'm into Awesome Truth winning the tag belts.
Well, to each their own, I suppose.
I don't know if they have announced anything. There's nothing on the website. It's just all the SmackDown stuff.
Yeah.
Which, it was good. It's very good. I've seen a few people saying, like, what did you think of SmackDown? That was great. It was a cool half-hour segment.
Sure was. The Rock is good at that talking stuff.
He sure is good at those promos. Poor Naomi, though.
Yeah.
Got all of her time cut. Yeah, I don't know what's happening on Raw tomorrow. Anyone know? All right. No, well, we're going to review it anyway. So we can talk about Raw tomorrow, and then we're back on Thursday with the Dynamite review. New look Dynamite as well. So we'll take care. We'll see you then. Please do press the subscribe button if it's your first time here and you haven't already. Leave a thumbs up and leave a comment down below with what you thought of the show. We will see you tomorrow. I've been Luco and DAD. That has been Tempest. Jam that jam.
I love wrestling.